let's disrupt. I bet everyone here believes trust is really important to an organization's culture. And many of you probably measure it inside your organization. I mean, you've got your engagement survey scores to prove it, right? But here's the thing. Good scores don't necessarily correlate to trust. And although your engagement surveys can tell you something's wrong, it can't necessarily tell you where trust stands or why it's breaking. It gives you the score without the story. And without the story, you really don't know what you should be fixing. And here's why. Credibility is the input. Do your actions match your words? Trust is the output, where the feeling that credibility is either it builds or erodes. The surveys tell you where trust stands, but it doesn't tell you where it's breaking. And really, the trust can be invisible until it's not. And so what we want to understand is, how do we bring that forward? So we looked at disruption and measured a national survey that measured disruption and what does it do to the state of trust. And we found that 71% of those responded had experienced a major disruption in the last 24 months. And I'm here to tell you, your organization is probably failing. Trust is the most important KPI that you can track. It impacts retention, reputation, and revenue. Let's talk a little bit about what we found. In low trust organizations, 52% of respondents believed their talent they had strong retention. In high trust, 93%. Here's the reality. People are leaving because they've lost faith in your leadership. And it's the same story with reputation. Only 49% in low trust believe their reputation was strong. In high trust, 97%. Here's the reality. Your employer brand isn't what your career page says, it's what people believe you say. Now let's talk about managers. Our research confirmed that trust is strongest between a manager and their direct reports, but it fractures the greatest by over 4 points when disruption hits. And are you curious to know what some of those disruptions are? Well, saying everything's fine when clearly it's not. Implementing systems without people's input. I mean, AI, anyone? And these are disruptions happening in your organization right now. So if trust predicts performance and credibility drives trust, and credibility is fracturing across your organization every time disruptions, big or small, happen, what exactly is your culture initiative fixing? But let me be clear, it's not about eliminating risk. In fact, organizations that handled disruption well saw a 12% increase in trust above the baseline of those that had no disruption at all. Let that land. You can go through a crisis and increase trust. And the organizations that perform poorly, a 28% crater, not a dip, a crater. And it shows up everywhere. The damage compounds and makes trust more brittle the next time around. So what do you do with all this? Well, just like that crack in your windshield that keeps spreading, you agree you have a problem and that it needs to be dealt with now, not later. Measuring trust is complex work, but you can do it through building credibility right away. So let's start with the 5 C's and talk about context. People need to know what is changing and why. Not the polished talking points, the real why. If people don't know the context, they make assumptions, and we all know what happens when we assume. Next is commitment, and it's the anchor. What will stay the same when everything else changes? If we can stay with the commitment and be really focused, people will come along. Now, I'm sure everybody here is comfortable with change as long as it's happening to somebody else. Talk about what is changing and why. People can handle the hard truth if we have the courage to speak it. Next is care. And this is where organizations fail. They announce the change and move on and completely expect people just to fall in line. But care is not a soft add-on. It is proof that you understand the human impact of what you're asking. And finally, call to action. this is where you cannot leave a conversation about change with silence. Give people something they can do. When people have control in moments of change, they can move through credibility and build trust more effectively. So let me leave you with this. Credibility has a score. Trust is what it predicts. You've seen the data and you know what to do. The final question I have for you is, what will your score tell you?